The airlock hissed open, and Lieutenant Commander Lisa Martinez stepped into Kepler Station for the first time. The smell hit her immediately, a strange mix of recycled air, metal, and something she couldn't identify. Probably alien, she thought, gripping her duffel bag tighter. The hallway stretched before her, massive and gleaming. The walls were covered in panels that glowed softly, showing writing in at least 6 different alien languages. Lisa recognized none of them. Her boots echoed on the floor as she walked, making her feel very alone in the huge space. "Welcome to the Galactic Defense Academy," said a voice behind her. Lisa turned to see a tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were completely black, and when it smiled, she saw too many teeth. "I am Instructor Veltar. You must be the human." The way it said human made Lisa's stomach twist. Not the human cadet or Lisa Martinez, just the human, like she was some kind of specimen. "Yes, sir. Lieutenant Commander Martinez reporting for duty," she said, snapping to attention. Veltar looked her up and down slowly. Smaller than expected. "Come, I will show you to the cadet quarters." As they walked through the corridors, Lisa saw other cadets. They were all alien. Some looked like giant insects, others had scales or fur or skin that changed colors. They all stopped, talking when she passed by. She heard whispers in languages she didn't understand, but the tone was clear enough. They were talking about her. "The other species have been spacefaring for thousands of years," Veltar said, not looking at her as they walked. "The Zenithians achieved faster than light travel 10,000 years ago. The Krillians have been warriors for even longer. Humans, 200 years in space. Very young, very new." They stopped at a door marked with symbols Lisa couldn't read. Veltar pressed his hand to a panel and the door slid open. "Your roommate," Veltar said. Inside, Lisa found a young man in a human military uniform, sitting on one of 2 beds. He jumped up when they entered. "Danny Rodriguez," he said, extending his hand. "Corporal. Technical specialist." Lisa shook his hand, relieved to see another human face. "Lisa Martinez. How long have you been here?" "About a month," Danny said. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Long enough to learn the rules." Veltar left them alone. Lisa unpacked her things while Danny watched her nervously. "Let me guess," Lisa said. "The rules aren't written down anywhere." "The rules are simple," Danny said quietly, checking the door to make sure Veltar was gone. "We're last, always, in everything. Training rotation, food line, equipment assignment. And if you complain," he pulled up his shirt. Lisa saw a large bruise across his ribs. "Training accident," Danny said. "Happened during hand-to-hand combat with a Krillian. Instructor said I needed to toughen up." Lisa felt anger building in her chest. "This is supposed to be an elite academy. We're supposed to be equals here." Danny laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Equal? Lisa, the aliens here think humans are a mistake. They call us the emotional species. They think we're too soft, too unstable for real military work." That evening, Lisa went to the dining hall. The space was enormous, with tables arranged by species. She could see the Zenithians, tall, pale beings with silver hair, sitting at the tables closest to the food. The Krillians, who looked like walking tanks with thick armor-like skin, sat nearby. Other species filled the middle tables. At the very back, almost hidden behind a support beam, was a small table with 2 chairs. Danny waved her over. "The human table," he said as she sat down. "Population 2. Lisa watched as the other cadets moved through the food line. Each species seemed to have its own unspoken rank. The Zenithians went first, taking the best food. The Krillians followed. Others fell in line behind them based on some system Lisa didn't understand. "What about us?" she asked. "We wait," Danny said, "until everyone else is done." 20 minutes later, they finally got their turn. The food that was left looked less than appetizing, but Lisa was hungry enough not to care. As they ate, Lisa became aware that they were being watched. At the Zenithian table, a group of cadets kept looking in their direction and talking in low voices, One of them, a female with bright silver eyes, seemed to be the leader. "That's Zix Thera," Danny said, following her gaze. "Zenithian noble family. Her father commands one of their battle fleets. She's not fond of humans." As if she heard them talking, Zix Thera stood up. She was tall and graceful, moving like a dancer. She walked over to their table, followed by two other Zenithians and a massive Krillian who had to be over 7 feet tall. "So," Zix Thera said, her voice like ice, "this is our new human cadet." Her accent was strange, each word perfectly pronounced but somehow wrong. "I am Zix Thera of House Veltrin. This is Vorthgak of the Krillian 2nd Legion." The huge Krillian grunted. Up close, Lisa could see that his skin really did look like armor, with thick plates covering his arms and chest. "I hear you have command experience," Zix Thera continued. "How interesting. What did you command? A patrol boat? A cargo ship?" "I was XO on the destroyer USS Harrison," Lisa said, keeping her voice steady. "Served in 3 major actions against pirates in the Outer Rim." Vorthgak laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Human pirates, how terrifying." "We studied human military history in my strategic studies class," another Zenithian added. "Very primitive. Your weapons, your tactics. It's also basic." Lisa felt her hands clench under the table. Danny touched her arm, a warning. "I'm sure we have much to learn from the other species," Lisa said carefully. "Oh, you do," Zix Thera said, smiling, but her smile was sharp like a knife. "Much to learn indeed. I hope you can keep up, human. The Academy has very high standards." They walked away, leaving Lisa and Danny alone. "Welcome to the Galactic Defense Academy," Danny said quietly. "Try not to let them see you bleed." That night, Lisa lay in her narrow bed staring at the ceiling. Through the small window she could see the stars, billions of them, representing civilizations she couldn't imagine. Tomorrow, her real training would begin. She had no idea that the bullying she'd experienced tonight was just the beginning. Lisa's first week at the academy was harder than she expected. Every day brought new problems that seemed too convenient to be accidents. During her first combat training session, Lisa entered the simulation pod to find it set to the hardest difficulty level. The instructor, a bug-like creature with multiple eyes, simply said, "Begin," when she pointed out the error. The simulation threw her into a war zone with void hunter ships attacking from all sides. Lisa had never seen combat this intense, not even in her worst battles on the Harrison. She lasted 3 minutes before her virtual ship exploded. "Poor performance," the instructor buzzed. "Perhaps humans are not ready for real combat." Behind her, Lisa heard Zix Thera and her friends laughing softly. The accidents kept happening. Her training uniforms were delivered in the wrong size, too small and designed for a 4-armed species. When she went to exchange them, the supply officer said there were no human-sized uniforms left. Her personal combat armor malfunctioned during a zero-gravity exercise. The magnetic boots wouldn't activate, sending her spinning helplessly through the training chamber while other cadets practiced around her. She crashed into a wall hard enough to bruise her shoulder. "Equipment failure," Vorthgak said when the instructor asked what happened. "Human technology is not reliable." Lisa wanted to point out that all the equipment was alien-made, but she kept quiet. She was starting to understand the rules Danny had warned her about. In the tactical planning classes, Lisa's datapad would mysteriously lose her assignments. Her access codes to the Academy network would stop working just before important tests. When she reported these problems, the alien technical staff would take hours to fix them, usually after the deadline had passed. "Strange," the instructors would say. "No one else is having these problems." Danny tried to help, but the same things were happening to him. He was a computer specialist, one of the best Lisa had ever worked with. But somehow his equipment always seemed to fail at the worst moments. "They're good," he admitted after his flight simulator crashed for the 3rd time that week. "Really, good. I can't prove they're doing anything wrong." The social isolation was almost worse than the sabotage. At meals, other cadets would fill up tables to avoid sitting with the humans. In the recreation areas, conversations would stop when Lisa or Danny appeared. Lisa tried to be friendly with cadets from other species. She approached a group of Aquatians, peaceful blue-skinned beings who breathed through gills on their necks. But as soon as she sat down, they made excuses and left. Later, she overheard two of them talking in the hallway. The Zenithians warned us, one said in accented English. They said humans are aggressive, violent. It's better to stay away. 3 weeks into her time at the academy, things got worse. Lisa was scheduled for a diplomatic simulation, a test where cadets had to negotiate a peace treaty between warring planets. She had spent days preparing, studying the history of the fictional conflict and planning her approach. When she arrived at the simulation room, she found it packed with other cadets and several visiting officials from the Cosmic Defense Coalition. This was supposed to be a private test, but now it was a public event. "Ah, the human cadet," said the lead instructor, a tall Zenithian with golden skin. "We thought the coalition representatives would be interested to see how your species handles diplomacy." Lisa felt sweat on her palms but nodded. She connected her datapad to the main screen and began her presentation. Everything seemed fine, until the third slide. The screen flickered, then displayed something completely different. Instead of her carefully prepared diplomatic proposal, the screen showed crude images and text that made humans look savage and warmongering. Her voice recording had been replaced with angry shouting and threats. The room fell silent. The coalition officials looked shocked and disgusted. Lisa's face burned with embarrassment and anger. This isn't my presentation," she said, her voice barely steady. "Oh?" Zixthera stood up from where she sat with the other cadets. "Perhaps you're saying humans are naturally two-faced, that you prepare one thing but mean another?" Several cadets laughed. The coalition officials whispered among themselves, making notes. "Technical difficulties happen," the instructor said, but his tone suggested he didn't believe it was an accident. "Perhaps you should start over, Cadet Martinez." Lisa tried to restart, but her datapad was completely corrupted. She had to give her presentation from memory, stumbling over words while the awful images stayed on the screen behind her. After the test, Lisa walked back to her quarters feeling defeated. The hallways seemed longer than usual, and every alien she passed seemed to be staring at her. She found Danny in their room, sitting on his bed with his head in his hands. "Danny? What's wrong?" He looked up, and she saw a bruise forming on his left cheek. "I tried to help you," he said quietly. "I found evidence that someone hacked your presentation files. I was on my way to report it when 3 Krillians cornered me in Supply Corridor C. Are you okay?" Lisa sat beside him, checking. His injuries, they didn't really hurt me, just sent a message. Said if I kept poking around where I didn't belong, next time would be worse. Danny pulled out his datapad with shaking hands. But I got something first, before they stopped me. The screen showed communication logs, messages between several alien cadets and accounts Lisa didn't recognize. The encryption was partially broken, but she could see enough to understand. "This isn't just bullying," she said, reading over the fragments. "There's something bigger going on." "I know. But Lisa, if they're willing to threaten us over this, what do you think they'll do if we actually expose them?" That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the messages, about the systematic way they were being isolated and humiliated. Danny was right. This wasn't random bullying by cruel teenagers. This was organized. She got up and went to the small window in their room. Kepler Station orbited a red giant star, and its light painted everything in shades of orange and gold. In the distance, she could see other ships docked at the station, vessels from dozens of different worlds. Lisa had joined the Academy to prove that humans belonged among the stars, that they could stand as equals with alien civilizations thousands of years older. Instead, she was being slowly broken down, made to look incompetent and dangerous. But now she had evidence that someone wanted humans to fail. The question was, who and why? As she stared out at the stars, Lisa Martinez began to plan. If someone wanted to play games with her, she would show them that humans could play too. She just hoped Danny was strong enough for what was coming next. Lisa spent the next 3 days watching and learning. She observed the routines of the alien cadets, noting when they met, where they went, and who they talked to. Danny's bruises were healing, but he was too scared to help with the investigation. "Just leave it alone," he pleaded. "We can survive 4 more months if we keep our heads down." But Lisa couldn't let it go. Something about those encrypted messages bothered her. The fragments she had seen mentioned other species, not just humans. On Tuesday evening, Lisa made her move. She waited until the halls were quiet, then slipped out of her quarters. The academy had service tunnels running between the main corridors, maintenance passages that most cadets didn't know about. Lisa had discovered them during her first week while trying to avoid a group of hostile Krillians. Tonight they would help her get where she needed to go without being seen. She crawled through the narrow tunnel until she reached the computer lab. Through a ventilation grate, she could see the room was empty. Lisa quietly removed the grate and dropped down into the lab. Her hands shook as she accessed one of the terminals. Danny had taught her a few tricks about the Academy's computer system, and her background in cybersecurity helped her navigate the alien interfaces. Lisa started with the enrollment records. She wanted to see which cadets had arrived when and from which planets. What she found surprised her. 23 cadets had been expelled from the Academy in the past 2 years, all from what the files labeled as minor species, civilizations that had achieved space travel more recently. Humans, Aquasians, Merconi, and several others Lisa had never heard of. The reasons for expulsion were always the same: failure to meet Academy standards, incompatible with galactic military protocols, emotional instability. Lisa dug deeper, cross-referencing the dates with other records. A pattern emerged. The expelled cadets had all reported equipment malfunctions, missing assignments, and social problems before their expulsion. "They've done this before," she whispered to herself. A soft sound in the hallway made her freeze. Footsteps. Lisa quickly copied the files to a data chip and closed the terminal. She had just enough time to climb back into the maintenance tunnel before someone entered the lab. The next day, Lisa took a different approach. Instead of hiding, she started talking to the cadets from other minor species. She found Kaya Thompson first. Kaya was a human engineer who had arrived 3 months before Lisa, but had been transferred to a different wing of the Academy. Lisa hadn't even known she existed. "They moved me after I complained about sabotage to my equipment," Kaya explained. "They were sitting in an empty maintenance bay, speaking quietly. Said it would be better for everyone if I trained separately." Kaya was small and tough, with short red hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had grown up on a mining station, fixing machines since she was old enough to hold a wrench. "I've been documenting everything," Kaya continued, pulling out a thick folder. "Equipment failures, schedule changes, missing supplies, it's all too organized to be random." Lisa showed Kaya the data she had copied from the computer lab. Together, they studied the patterns. "Look at this." Kaya pointed to a series of expulsions 18 months ago. 5 Aquasian cadets, all gone within 3 weeks of each other. "Where are the Aquasian cadets now?" Lisa asked. They found the answer in the medical wing. 2 Aquasian cadets were there, recovering from training accidents. Lisa and Kaya approached them carefully. The Aquasians were nervous at first, their gills fluttering anxiously. But when Lisa showed them the data about expelled cadets, they began to talk. "We thought we were the only ones having problems," said Healer Bluana, her blue skin pale with worry. "Our equipment fails. Our food is wrong. Other cadets avoid us." Her companion Navigator Waderick nodded sadly. "The Zenithians tell others we are weak, that water dwellers cannot be trusted in space." "It's not just Zenithians," Lisa said. "The pattern involves multiple species." Over the following days, Lisa and Kaya quietly reached out to other marginalized cadets. They found 3 Merconi, peaceful, plant-like beings who communicated partially through scent. The Merconi had been having problems with their specialized equipment and food supplies. They also contacted 2 cadets from a species called the Valorians, reptilian humanoids, whose culture valued honor above everything else. The Valorians were confused and angry about the constant dishonor they faced through equipment failures and social rejection. Lisa realized she was building something she hadn't expected, an alliance. The group started meeting secretly in different locations around the academy. They shared information, helped each other with sabotaged assignments, and provided emotional support. During one of these meetings, held in an abandoned storage bay, Kaya made a disturbing discovery. "I hacked into the communication logs Danny found," she announced. "The encryption was tougher than expected, but I got more of it decoded." She displayed the messages on a portable screen. Lisa read them with growing alarm. War games exercise. Eliminate contaminating influences. Restore proper hierarchy. The Pure Coalition will not tolerate weakness in galactic defense. "The Pure Coalition?" asked Bluana. "I researched them," said one of the Marconi, Sage Kelthara. Her words came out with a sweet scent that the translator converted to English. "They are an extremist group. They believe only the oldest, most advanced species should control galactic military forces. And we're all threats to their idea of purity," Lisa said grimly. Wateric's large eyes widened. "The War Games exercise, that is the final test before graduation." Lisa felt cold understanding wash over her. "That's their end game. They're planning something during the War Games." "What kind of something?" Kaya asked. Lisa looked around at her new allies, beings from 6 different worlds, all facing the same systematic oppression. 2 months ago, she had been alone except for Danny. Now she had friends she trusted with her life. "Something bad enough that they've spent months making us look incompetent," she said. "Something that will prove their point that we don't belong in the galactic military." "What do we do?" asked Valorian honor guard Rexcar, his reptilian features serious. Lisa thought about all the evidence they had gathered, all the sabotage they had endured, all the humiliation designed to break their spirits. "We get ready," she said finally, "and we use every advantage we have." "What advantages?" Bluana asked desperately. "They have better technology, more experience, stronger political connections." Lisa smiled for the first time in weeks. It wasn't a nice smile. "They have all of that," she agreed. "But they're making the same mistake everyone has made about humans throughout history. They think our emotions make us weak. They think being young in space makes us stupid. They think diversity makes us fragile." She looked at each of her alien friends in turn. "They're about to learn why that's wrong. The War Games were only 2 weeks away. Lisa Martinez had a lot of work to do." The morning of the War Games arrived cold and gray. Lisa stood in the Academy's main hangar with 300 other cadets, listening to Admiral Kethvin give the final briefing. "Today you face the ultimate test," the Admiral said, his deep voice echoing in the vast space. "You will defend Kepler Station against a simulated Void Hunter attack. The enemy ships are computer-controlled, but the weapons fire will be real enough to damage your ships. Success requires perfect teamwork between all species." Lisa glanced around at her secret allies scattered through the crowd. They had spent 2 weeks planning for this moment, but she still felt nervous. The Admiral continued, "You will be divided into mixed species squadrons. Communication between ships will be monitored and recorded for evaluation. The exercise begins in 1 hour." As cadets moved toward their assigned ships, Zixthera appeared beside Lisa. "Nervous, human?" she asked with her cold smile. "Don't worry, I'm sure you'll do your best." Something in her tone made Lisa's stomach twist. "Thanks for the encouragement." "Oh, I'm very encouraging. I believe everyone should be judged by their true abilities." Zixthara's silver eyes glittered. "Today's test will show everyone exactly what each species contributes to galactic defense." She walked away, leaving Lisa with the distinct feeling that Zixthara knew more about today than she was supposed to. Lisa entered her assigned fighter ship and ran through the pre-flight checklist. Everything seemed normal, but she stayed alert. Her ship's computer showed her squadron assignment. 7 ships total, including Kaya, Bluana, and Rexcar. "Squadron 7, prepare for departure," came the voice of Squadron Leader Morthak, AI, Zenithian Lisa didn't recognize. The ships launched from the station in perfect formation. Lisa's scanner showed the enemy ships appearing at the edge of the system. black vessels designed to look like the ancient void hunters. But something was wrong. Lisa. Kaya's voice crackled over the comm. My sensors are showing real metal composition on those ships, not holographic projections. Lisa checked her own readings. Kaya was right. These weren't simulation ships. Squadron leader. Lisa called over the comm. Sir, I'm reading solid matter on the enemy vessels. Are we sure these are simulations? Maintain radio silence except for tactical communication, Morthak snapped. Begin attack run. The squadron moved forward, but Lisa felt ice in her stomach. Her human instincts were screaming that something was very wrong. The first simulated weapons fire hit Squadron 3. Lisa watched in horror as real explosions tore through the ships. 2 cadets' life pods ejected as their fighters were destroyed. Those are real weapons, Rexcar shouted over the comm. All squadrons, return to base. Lisa heard Admiral Kethavan's voice boom from the station. This is not a simulation. Repeat, this is not a simulation. But the reply came from an unexpected source. Zixthera's voice cut through all communication channels, broadcast from somewhere on the station. Too late, Admiral. The test has begun. Today we separate the worthy from the weak. Chaos erupted across the battlefield. Most cadets froze, not understanding what was happening. But Lisa's mind was already working. Kaya, can you access the station's communication array from here? Working on it, Kaya replied, her fingers flying over her controls. I'm locked out. Someone's taken control of the main systems. Lisa looked at her tactical display. The enemy ships were moving in perfect formation, using actual Void Hunter technology. Where had they gotten real Void Hunter ships? Lisa. Bluana's voice was shaky. My ship's targeting system just locked me out. I can't fire weapons. Same here, called Waderick from Squadron 2. Lisa tried her weapons. They worked fine. So, did Kaya's and Rexicar's? Only the non-human minor species cadets were being locked out of their weapon systems. They're not trying to kill us, Lisa realized. They're making us helpless, making us look incompetent while they save the day. Sure enough, squadrons made up entirely of Zenithians and Krillians began engaging the enemy with full weapons. They fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and the Void Hunter ships had superior firepower. This isn't random, Kaya said. Someone planned this whole thing. Lisa watched more ships explode, saw more life pods launching as cadets were forced to abandon their fighters. The casualty count was rising fast. Rexcar, can you still maneuver your ship? She asked. Yes, but without weapons I am useless. Not useless. Follow me. Lisa broke formation and dove toward the enemy ships. Her squadron followed, confused but trusting her. What are you doing? Morthak demanded. Lisa ignored him. She had an idea, a crazy, dangerous idea that might work. Kaya, can you overload your ship's reactor without it exploding immediately? Maybe. Why? Because I remember something from human history. Sometimes the best weapon isn't a gun. Lisa led her squadron in a tight formation toward the largest enemy ship. The Void Hunter vessel turned its weapons toward them, but Lisa wasn't planning to fight it conventionally. Bluana, Waderick, can you two create a distraction? Draw their fire? Our weapons don't work, Bluana protested. You don't need weapons. Just fly in crazy patterns. Make them think you're going to ram them. The equations peeled off, their ships dancing through space in impossible spirals. The enemy ship tracked them with its weapons, confused by the unpredictable movement. While they were distracted, Lisa and Kaya approached the enemy ship's rear. Now Kaya ejected her overloaded reactor toward the enemy ship, then teleported away in her escape pod. The reactor struck the enemy vessel just as Lisa fired everything she had into the same spot. The enemy ship's armor cracked. Atmosphere vented into space. Rexcar, your people are warriors, right? Even without weapons? We are trained in ship-to-ship boarding, he replied proudly. Think you can fly through that crack and cause some problems inside? Rexcar's laugh sounded like a growl. With pleasure. Lisa watched as the Valorian flew his fighter through the breach in the enemy ship's hull. Explosions began blossoming inside the vessel as Rexakar sabotaged it from within. Around them, the battle was turning. Other cadets saw what Lisa's squadron was doing and began improvising their own tactics. Ships without weapons became kamikaze rams. Pilots used their fighters as shields for others. But the enemy had one more surprise. Kepler Station is under attack, Admiral Kethoven's voice announced. Boarding parties have taken control of sectors 7 through 12. All cadets, return immediately. Lisa looked back at the station and saw small ships attached to its hull. Like parasites, more Void Hunter technology. The pure coalition, she said grimly. They're not just attacking us, they're taking over the academy. Around her, the alien cadets looked to her for guidance. Somehow, the bullied human cadet had become their leader. What do we do? Asked one of the Merconi. Lisa looked at Kepler. Station, at the enemy ships, at her diverse group of friends who had been written off as weak and worthless. We do what they don't expect, she said. We save everyone, even them. Lisa stared at Kepler Station as enemy ships clung to its hull like metal spiders. Around her, the surviving cadet fighters floated in space, waiting for orders. We need a plan, Kaya said over the comm. Lisa thought fast. The enemy had superior numbers and weapons. The elite cadets from the major species were scattered and confused. Many were injured or had lost their ships. But Lisa had something the enemy didn't expect. Cadets who knew how to adapt, who had learned to work together despite their differences. Kaya, how many ships do we have that can still fight? 43 fighters, 11 heavy bombers and 6 transport ships. Not enough to win a straight fight, Rexakar observed grimly. Then we don't fight straight, Lisa said. Bluana, your people know the station's water systems, right? Yes, but what does that? The boarding parties will need access to life support. Can you get into the station through the water recycling intake? Lisa could hear the excitement in Bluana's voice. Yes, it's too small for most species, but equations could fit. Good. Take Waterick and any other equations. Get inside and start sabotaging their equipment from within. What about the rest of us? Asked Kelthera, the Merconi. Lisa looked at the tactical display, an idea forming. Your people communicate through scent, right? Even through a ship's air system? Correct. I need you to get to the station's environmental controls. Fill the air ducts with confusion sense. Make the enemy think they're surrounded. As her allies peeled off to their missions, Lisa turned to the remaining fighters. Many were piloted by cadets who had bullied her for months. Now they looked to her for leadership. Vorthgak, she called to the massive Krillian. Your ships, still armed? Yes, human. But why should I follow your orders? Lisa's voice was steady. Because right now I'm the only one with a plan to save this station. There was a pause, then. What do you need? We're going to attack the main enemy ship directly, but first we need to make them think we're doing something else. Lisa outlined her plan quickly. Half the ships would attack the smaller enemy vessels, making lots of noise and drawing attention. Meanwhile, Lisa would lead a small group directly at the main ship. That's suicide, protested a Zenithian cadet. Maybe, Lisa agreed. But it's our only chance. The attack began with a roar of engines and weapons fire. The decoy group, led by Vorthgak, charged at the smaller enemy ships. Just as Lisa hoped, the main enemy vessel turned its attention to this threat. While the enemy was distracted, Lisa led her small team, Kaya, Rexakar, and Danny, who had finally joined the fight in a bomber, toward the main ship's docking bay. Their shields are down on the docking side, Danny reported. Too many small ships going in and out. Perfect. Everyone remember the plan? They flew their ships directly into the enemy's docking bay, surprising the soldiers inside. Lisa's fighter skidded to a stop, and she was out and running before the enemy could react. The inside of the ship was dark and alien. Lisa had studied Void Hunter technology, but seeing it up close was terrifying. The walls seemed to pulse like living tissue, and strange symbols glowed with sickly green light. The command center should be this way, Kaya said, consulting her Scanner. They fought their way through corridors filled with confused enemy soldiers. Lisa realized that many of them weren't aliens at all. They were other cadets from the academy, cadets who had joined the Pure Coalition. The truth hit her like a cold wave. This wasn't just an outside attack. The Pure Coalition had been recruiting from inside the academy for months. They reached the command center to find Zixthara waiting for them. She no longer wore her cadet uniform. Instead, she was dressed in the dark armor of the Pure Coalition. "The human," she said without surprise. "I wondered when you would arrive." "Why?" Lisa asked, keeping her weapon trained on Zixthara. "Why do all this?" Zixthara laughed, cold and sharp. "You really don't understand, do you? The galaxy was perfect before your kind arrived. Ordered, pure. Each species knew its place. And now? Now we have chaos. Humans with their emotions. Aquasians with their weakness. Merconi with their pacifism. All of you contaminating the strength of the galactic military." Lisa felt anger building in her chest. "So you decided to kill us?" "I decided to prove that you don't belong. Today's demonstration will show the galaxy what happens when inferior species are given military roles." Behind Zixthara, Lisa could see displays showing the battle outside. The Academy's defenses were failing. Soon, the enemy would control the entire station. "You're wrong," Lisa said quietly. "Am I? Look around you, human. Your friends are losing. Your precious diversity means nothing against superior firepower." Lisa smiled. "I wasn't talking about the battle." At that moment, the ship's lights began flickering, the air filled with a sweet, confusing scent that made everyone dizzy. Water began spraying from the ventilation system. Zixthara's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. "Impossible." "You forgot something," Lisa said as her allies from different species carried out their missions perfectly. "We've been working together while you've been fighting alone." The ship shuddered as explosions rocked it from inside and out. Bluana and her team had sabotaged the life support systems. Kelthara had filled the air with Merconi confusion sense. Outside, Vorthgak and the fighter squadron were winning against the smaller ships. Zixthara raised her weapon, but Rexkar was faster. The Valorian tackled her before she could fire. Lisa ran to the control panel and began shutting down the ship's systems. Her cybersecurity training helped her navigate the alien interfaces. "Danny, can you get into their communications?" "Already there," Danny said from across the room. "Broadcasting a surrender signal now." One by one, the enemy ships stopped fighting. The boarding parties on Kepler Station, cut off from their command ship and confused by the sabotage, began surrendering to Academy security forces that had regrouped. In the aftermath, as rescue ships arrived and the wounded were treated, Lisa found herself in the Academy's main hall, the same place where she had been humiliated during the diplomatic simulation. Now Admiral Kethvin stood before the assembled cadets and instructors. "Today we learned something important," the Admiral said. "We learned that strength comes not from technological superiority or ancient bloodlines. It comes from the ability to adapt, to work together, to find new solutions to old problems." He looked directly at Lisa. The cadets who saved this station weren't the ones with the most advanced training or the oldest civilizations. They were the ones who had learned to see diversity as strength, not weakness. Lisa felt tears in her eyes as her fellow cadets, aliens who had once bullied her, stood and applauded. Zixthara, now in custody, caught Lisa's eye from across the room. There was no hatred in her gaze anymore, only something that might have been respect. Later, as Lisa packed her things, she found a note on her bed. It was from Admiral Kethvin, offering her a commission as a squadron leader in the Galactic Defense Fleet. "You interested?" Danny asked, reading over her shoulder. Lisa looked out the window at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened. She had come to the Academy to prove that humans belonged among the stars. Instead, she had learned something more important. The galaxy needed all kinds of people from all kinds of worlds working together. "Yeah," she said, smiling. "I think I am." 3 months later, Squadron 7 launched from Kepler Station on their first mission. The squadron included humans, Aquasians, Merconi, Valorians, and even a reformed Krillian named Vorthgak. Their leader was Lieutenant Commander Lisa Martinez, the human who had been bullied by alien cadets and became their unexpected savior. Ew. Their ships flew into the darkness between stars. Lisa couldn't help but smile. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but she was ready to face them with friends by her side.